From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. In today's show, Mark tunes in to Senator Chuck Grassley's weekly Ag Conference call. I have the latest South America update with Greg McBride of Allendale. And Dustin visits with Iowa Farmers Union President Aaron Lehman. Now let's welcome in our hosts, Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman.
Well, Dustin, yesterday and earlier this week on Monday, we saw the ag marketplace with a lot of action, especially on Monday. Of course, we saw that big rise to the upside with the grains, and we knew that it was several factors playing into it. The weather, of course, we had a hotter forecast for parts of the Midwest than we were expecting here in the near future. Then we also had the start of the new month and just the trading situation coming out of the long weekend as well. And then we also heard some reports about Chinese buying of soybeans. And now we've gotten some confirmation of that. I will continue that conversation with Jim McCormick of agmarket.net here in just a little bit, talking about those purchases. And then we'll find out if maybe this can give a little bit of a bullish push to the market for the short-term future.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that happens because as we were talking earlier this morning, corn was down about 6 cents, earlier this morning. And, that's definitely a reversal. I mean, we've had 2 good up days in the grains. So, I mean, one down day is not necessarily the end of the world. But also, we've talked about this, too, being the end of the month, a new month coming up. But it was also the beginning of a new quarter, the final quarter of fiscal year 2026. And that's why there's a lot of things that are going to hinge in the balance. Hence, the budget bills from Congress, Farm Bill needs to be taken care of, so much more. And, we were waiting to see how these all play out. But that also throws in another monkey wrench into the situation. So the markets are going to be a little volatile. They're talking another heat dome that could be descending onto the Corn Belt again in this next week, but not as long-lived, they don't think, as the one we had last week. But really haven't seen that much cool off from what we had last week anyway. Yes, there is some, but it's still plenty warm out there, and the humidity and the heat indexes are still up there plenty high, but not quite to this 108, 109, 110 degree range that we saw the week before. But yeah, there's a lot of factors out there that are affecting the marketplace, and interesting to see how this plays out.
And that portion of the heat area that you're talking about for this next wave is more focused on the western Corn Belt, although that will radiate even over to here in Iowa and parts of Illinois as well, and it's going to have wide-reaching effects.
Yep, that it will. So let's go ahead and get into those grains right now with Jim McCormick, agmarket.net.
Joined today by Jim McCormick of agmarket.net. Jim, we've reached the midday or the midpoint of the week on Wednesday here. What are we looking at with the trade in the grains?
Hey, good morning. What we're seeing today in the trade in the grains is a lot of volatility. Markets had rallied overnight. Beans, as we speak now, Mark, are back to unchanged. And the corn market's actually under a little bit of pressure, down about 4.5 cents. Wheat market is also down a couple cents in Chicago, flat on the KC market as we speak.
And Jim, when we saw the rally to begin the week, of course, coming out of the long 3-day weekend of no trade, there were several things that were probably influencing the ag marketplace. What did you think was the biggest factor? Was it China and potential buying from China?
I think in the beans, it was definitely the China news, China potentially buying. There's been rumors that they bought anywhere between 5 and 10 cargoes of beans. We did get confirmation today, this morning, from the USDA. They bought 17.3 million bushels of corn, which is beans, which was interesting, Mark. The one thing was most people thought that would be all new crop. Actually, 5 million of that was old crop for beans, but having China in the market was the one thing that kind of helped push the beans up. The secondary thing was the weather. You had the heat pass last week, and now you got to have a heat dome building, especially in the western Corn Belt. That's really going to send temperatures surging higher here at the end of the week into early next week. And that kind of helps support the corn market as we're moving to that ever critical pollination period.
So you say the Western Corn Belt, Jim. When I initially had heard about the heat ramping up, it was talking about the Dakotas and parts of Minnesota. Is that what you're referencing, or is it a different part of the Corn Belt?
That's what I'm referencing. That's where the apex of it. But even here in northern Illinois, where I'm at, they're talking to local forecasters. They're talking temperatures in the mid to lower 90s early next week. So that the intensity is in the far west, but it is creeping them back a little bit east.
And as we know, once we get to pollination and then the stages after that where we are having the grain fill period, moisture becomes even more important. Have we set up nicely with some of the recent rains we've had, or are there still areas that are hurting?
There are a few pockets that are hurting, but in general, we're okay. But what the market's a little bit leery about, and why part of the reason we put some premium back into the market is you look at the 6 to 10 day and the 8 to 14 day models, they're bringing that heat in, but they're also saying that bias as we get in the middle to the latter part of July is maybe a little bit below normal rainfall. So if you're one of those areas that did not catch rain before this heat kind of moves in, it could cause a problem and maybe do some damage to the yield potential.
And have you looked at any of the longer-term weather models? Is that heat expected to stick around?
Well, that's not. I mean, in general, it's not because usually in El Nino years, from what I understand, you tend to have an active jet stream. It tends to keep the market, the essentially moving west to east. But right now, if you look at the longer range maps, there is rain in the forecast, Mark. But where the fear is this 10 day, the 8 to 14 day, and even those 3 to 4 week maps that the government puts out, there tends to be a warmer 2 to 3 degree warmer bias through the whole month of July. So it looks like July is going to go down as a warmer than normal month. And what we're watching for here in the trade is not necessarily just what the high temperatures are, but also where the overnight lows are as well.
So with this confluence of bullish factors coming together to help us to start the week, do we think this has the potential to give us some more runway to move the price up? Do you think we're going to stay kind of in the middle? What are you kind of forecasting there?
Well, I'm hoping we can surge a little bit higher. December corn is getting some critical technical resistance. If you look at it, your 200-day moving average is right here at 467. Last night's high was 465 and 3/4. You're right about a 50% retracement of the sell-off. So you are hitting some technical resistance. We'll see if we can get that through it. Beans, they're hanging right around this $12 level. They got through it in the overnight market. So we'll see if we can get through it. The two things that we'll be watching is obviously this heat that builds next week, how intense it is and how long it sticks around. The other wild card that kind of got thrown into the mix this morning is it does look like the U.S. and Iran are back at it war-wise. According to the President Trump, we attacked them last night. We're waiting to see how Iran responds. That has brought the crude oil market back to life, trading almost $3 higher. And we'll see if that brings maybe some of that inflation buy-in back in. The funds that built this massive long position of corn, they reversed it. They were building a short position. We're guessing after the last couple of days of buying, they're now back to flat corn. Now we're going to see if they're willing to reverse back and start building back another long position.
ACM and CMA award winner, Hardy.
That's my favorite country song.
Live in concert.
I woke up on the wrong side of the truck bed this morning.
August 13th, 8 p.m., Iowa State Fair Grandstand.
You got it good, old boy.
With special guest McCoy Moore. Hardy Live. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Hardy 2026.
Back on Iowa Ag Matters, let's find out what's going on in Brazil and Argentina as Riley Smith talks with Greg McBride of Allendale in our weekly South America update.
Riley Smith, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, on the phone right now with Greg McBride of Allendale as we take a look at the conditions down in South America for another week. And Greg, first off, what are we seeing in the latest weather patterns for Brazil and Argentina?
It's very similar. The 1 to 5 day is very similar to what we've been talking about for seemingly months at this point. You've got pretty much a dry forecast across most of Brazil and most of Argentina. Southern Brazil does see some rains to kind of help them along here, but you get a little bit concerned maybe about some of the winter wheat seedings and whatnot for Argentina as they finish up harvest on their summer crops here. I would watch. There is a good storm that's kind of rolling through southern Argentina, but if that shifts to the north, that might help them out. You go out to the 6 to 10 day forecast, and it does offer a little additional rain coming into Brazil, so there is a little bit of a drink coming for them. That southern portion of Brazil still seeing good rains, continues to be solid for them, so that'll keep the soil moisture where it needs. But Argentina, again, still on the drier side. That storm I was talking about in the 1 to 5 day seems to hit Chile and stop in the 6 to 10 day forecast. So we'll have to continue to watch that, see if it, like I said, if it shifts a little bit further north, that would be substantial for that winter wheat crop down in Argentina.
And then when we look at the crop progress in both countries, first off with Brazil, how are they looking on harvest progress?
Yeah, we're in second crop corn harvest. Really, still very early. 16% harvested. That's just 1% behind last year, and just slightly behind the 5-year average at 20%. So they are still moving along. We'll probably over the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll see those start to prop up here. But this is a long harvest. So basically, it's going to be about a 3-month process at this point.
And then looking over in Argentina as well, I know they were wrapping up on corn harvest, I believe, and then on soybeans, are they still halfway, or do I have that backwards?
It's backwards. So bean harvest is completed in Argentina. Corn harvest about 65%. It's about 5 to 6% behind last year in the 5-year average, but they are moving along. They do look like they're doing okay. But like I said, I would be a little bit concerned about some of the dryness issues. I don't know if they're running into to any concerns about the moisture on that corn as they harvest it. But for right now, they are moving along okay.
All right, lots of great information today, Greg. For anybody who would like to get in touch for more information from Allendale, how can they do that?
Give us a call at 800-2-MARKET. That's 800-262-7538.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
Get in the fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair and save before you go. The countdown is on to the Iowa State Fair, and now's the time to plan ahead. With advance admission tickets, lock in your visit before you arrive and step into 11 days of live music, fair traditions, incredible food, and summer moments you look forward to all year long. Save $5 now. Advance tickets are available now at iowastatefair.org, on the app, and at participating Iowa Hy-Vee and Fairway stores. Celebrate fair spirit at the Iowa State Fair.
August 13th through the 23rd.
Time to run down those basis numbers for you here on Iowa Ag Matters on this Wednesday. I'm Dustin Huffman. Taking a look at cash bids around the state. Only 2 elevators making any changes. Let's run it down. ADM Burlington 2 cents over on corn. They're at $4.44. Soybeans 15 cents under at $11.85. Cargill and Eddyville 17 cents under on corn. They're at $4.25 for the cash bid. New Co-op Algona 32 cents under on corn, $4.10. Soybeans 50 cents under at $11.50 for the cash price. Ag State Sheldon 19 cents under on corn, $4.23, 50 cents under November beans at $11.49. Ag State Alta 29 cents under on corn, $4.13 for the cash bid. Soybeans 45 cents under November at $11.54. Cargill Cedar Rapids 6 cents under on corn, $4.36. Soybeans a dime over August at $12.10. 5-Star Co-op Nashua 30 cents under on corn at $4.12. Soybeans 25 cents under at $11.75. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada 17 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.25. ADM Des Moines a dime over on soybeans, cash price there at $12.10. New Co-op Red Oak 23 cents under on corn, $4.19. Soybeans 50 cents under, $11.50. Mid-Iowa Cooperative Green Mountain 45 cents under on corn, $3.97 for the cash bid. Soybeans 50 cents under at $11.50. New Co-op Sheraton 27 cents under on corn, $4.15. Soybeans 50 cents under at $11.50 for the cash price. Walk-On Feed Ranch, 41 cents under on corn. They're at $4.01. Soybeans 58 cents under at $11.42. New Co-op in Glidden, 30 cents under on corn. Cash price $4.12. Soybeans 50 cents under at $11.50. Innovative Ag Services Farley, 44 cents under on corn. They're at $3.98. Soybeans 55 cents under. Cash price $11.45. In Cargill Muscatine, 7 cents under on corn, $4.33. Soybeans 22 cents under at $11.78. Cash corn and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevator when making sales to obtain the most recent price. That's been a check of your basis bids here on Iowa Ag Matters. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Rod Stewart.
When I see you tonight,
A special evening with the icon.
on a downtown train,
A night of hit After hit. After hit. With special guest Richard Marks. Friday, August 14th. Iowa State Fair Grandstand. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Don't miss an electrifying event. Friday, August 14th. Rod Stewart. Live.
Last week, House Ag Committee Ranking Member Angie Craig hosted a discussion with the Agriculture Press and included Aaron Lehman, President of the Iowa Farmers Union, as one of the guest speakers on that call. And we hear his remarks from that call right now.
Well, thank you very much, Mally. Mally, my name is Aaron Lehman, and I'm a fifth-generation farmer from here in central Iowa, and I'm president of the Iowa Farmers Union. We grow corn, soybeans, oats, and hay, and I farm with my wife and my son. We're proud of that. And we, like all farmers, love to grow things to feed people and to be part of thriving rural communities. But more and more of our farmers are reporting that they are on the verge of a crisis on their farm and in their rural community. For one, they've seen their hard-earned international market share plummet due to a chaotic trade and tariff policy that shows few signs of getting us closer to fair trade that we need. Farmers spend their time and make their investments in building these relationships with buyers overseas, but all that effort goes for nothing if our trade policy is completely haphazard. The markets tumble, and farmers and farm input suppliers and farm lenders in our small towns and our entire farm infrastructure has to scramble to deal with the fallout of this chaotic policy. Then, this spring, farmers saw their fertilizer and diesel prices skyrocket as they were preparing to enter the fields for planting due to a war that we weren't prepared for, and it doesn't seem like it has an end to the economic fallout. All of this on top of massive cuts to USDA at our local offices and in the programs that make a difference for our farms. All of this on top of labor costs rising because of the threats to our diverse labor force that our farms and agribusinesses rely on and that many of our rural communities rely on. All this on top of healthcare costs skyrocketing for farm families because of expiring supports for families using the Affordable Care Act. My family saw our healthcare premiums more than double. So how are farmers dealing with something like this, that all these conditions? Well, it means they're putting off repairs and replacement of equipment that is in bad need of being replaced. They put off efforts to improve their soil fertility. They put off bringing new innovation to the farm. And they often put off bringing the next generation onto the farm. And that's so sad. And it is so short-sighted that we cannot invest in our farms, our rural communities, and the next generation being an integral part. Now, more and more, our farmers are being forced into bankruptcy. The statistics show a huge increase in farm bankruptcy, and we see more and more calls in the stress hotline, in the suicide hotline, and we see the decline in our rural communities. In response to the trade chaos, the international tensions, the rising prices across the board, we need elected leaders to step up and meet this moment. We need to work together in rural America to support one another and create systems that work together because we're not on the right path. Instead, what's been the response? Unfortunately, it has been far, far less than what we need. Our current farm bill is 3 years past due, and the current proposals are stuck in a farm economy that doesn't exist anymore. Our trade policies are no closer to fair trade for farmers and workers and consumers. Our international policies have us stuck with high input prices for the foreseeable future. And our county USDA offices can't respond. Many of them are closing their doors, and the programs don't meet the farmer demand. It is harder than ever to find farm labor and agribusiness labor. That's unfortunately been the response. And farmers in our rural communities are feeling the brunt on it. We're not on the right path. And all our elected leaders need to say how important this is to our farms, to our rural communities, in our consumers and our country. Investing in farmers in rural communities and putting farmers at the center of solutions is the only way to get on the right path. I want to say a huge thank you to the rest of our panel today who are moving us in the right direction to try to get us back on the right path. So thank you, Representative Greg. Thank you, Representative Etheridge, and thank you, Senator Pat.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
This is the Iowa Ag Matters program, and we are discussing some of the things here on the show. We've already heard from Greg McBride of Allendale about the situation in South America for the crop update, but now let's talk a little bit about some policy things, Dustin. The Renewable Fuels Association is telling the U.S. International Trade Commission it supports the Trump administration's reciprocal tariff on ethanol imports from Brazil. They argue that the move is needed to address what it calls unfair trade barriers against U.S. ethanol. And then also, simultaneously, the United States Cattlemen's Association is urging the U.S. Trade Representative to impose tougher tariffs on Brazilian beef. And they argue the imports give Brazil an unfair advantage over America's cattle producers. So a couple of situations in Brazil where I know that from the U.S. perspective, the producers here feel like it's a little bit of an imbalance and unfair.
Well, and I can understand that. I mean, you look at the size of what Brazil has and what they're able to produce, and they're starting to outproduce us in several regions and of agriculture. It's not surprising to see these kinds of things pop up. That's just something that's going to happen. Of course, you're also going to have to show that there is, they're going to have to. It's a burden of proof on them to make these kinds of accusations, and so it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I mean, we're going to see if they're able to sustain the fact that there is some unfair trading practices. But again, the burden of proof is on the U.S. and these groups for making these charges. And so we'll have to see. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out because Brazil's sheer size is going to start to overwhelm us pretty soon. More Iowa Ag Matters in a moment.
Rod Stewart.
When I see you tonight,
A special evening with the icon.
on a downtown train,
A night of hit after hit after hit with special guest Richard Marks. Friday, August 14th, Iowa State Fair Grandstand. Reserve tickets on sale now through iowastatefair.org. Don't miss an electrifying event. Friday, August 14th. Rod Stewart, live.
This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson, joined at midday by Aaron Teal of agmarket.net. Aaron, what's happening with the trade in the grains here on Wednesday at midday?
Yeah, here throughout the trade, we're seeing a little bit of a sell-off right now in the corn market, with corn down about 6 to 7 cents right now. Beans, on the other hand, are mixed. Old crop beans are up anywhere from 1 to 5 cents, and the July is up 5, and then new crop beans are down about a penny or so. So seeing a little bit of a mixed bag right now in the grain market, and the buying that we have seen the past 2 days has been a little bit slowed down here today.
And with corn coming back down to earth a little bit, Aaron, do you think that's just a natural response of maybe getting pushed to the upside along with the soybeans earlier this week with that China buying interest?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that when you look at the big move we saw from the high made on May 13th around 506 to where the low was made on June 30th around 425, the 50% retracement from a technical perspective is right around that 465 level. That, along with some moving averages, we're seeing some resistance, I think, from a technical standpoint. And then also just the big buying we saw the past 2 days. I think buyers have maybe been tired or just a little bit more patient now and not as eager and aggressive into the market as they were earlier this week. What's happening over on the livestock side of the trade? Yeah, right now feeder cattle are down 2 to 250, and then fat cattle are down $1 to $2 as well. Seeing a little bit of weakness in the cattle market as of recently. I think there's just not a whole lot of great bullish news that the market is trading, and when that is going on and there's not a whole lot to trade, the buyers aren't as aggressive and wanting to get into it as much. The hogs are up today, anywhere from 1 to 270, which is good to see because they've been lower earlier this week, and then just have been kind of a dog and hard to get that market going higher.
What's the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
They can find us online at agmarket.net, or they can call us here in the Wisconsin office at 608-384-5438.
He is Aaron Teal with agmarket.net. Thanks for the time today, Aaron. Really appreciate it, and have a great rest of your week.
You too. Thank you.
This year at the Iowa State Fair, Fair Spirit meets 250 years of American history in a celebration across the fair. See the America 250 Iowa display and a permanent sculpture created just for the fair. Walk the Iowa Veterans Memorial Walkway honoring service and sacrifice. Experience 250 years of the American flag, along with red, white, and blue contests and fair favorites. Then look to the sky for drone shows glowing in red, white, and blue, lighting up the fair like never before. From history to celebration, it all comes together at the Iowa State Fair. Learn more at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through the 23rd.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
September corn down 7.5 at 436 1/4. August soybeans up 3 3/4 at 1197.5. August soybean meal down 360 at 312.60. August soybean oil up 223 at 70.82. Chicago wheat down 6 cents at 612.5. On the Merc, August live cattle down 210 at 236.33. August feeder cattle down 290 at 357.75. August lean hogs up $1.75 at 90.68. That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson. Time now to hear from Jim McCormick of agmarket.net about the other side of the ag marketplace. We talked about the grains earlier in the show. Now let's discuss the livestock side with the cattle and hogs in trade. Here is Jim McCormick of agmarket.net.
On the cattle market, we continue to slide. If you look at this August cattle, it just continues to weaken. It's going down there. It looks like it's hopefully going to try to catch right around, the early June lows. Kind of a negative sentiment, weaker cash price, uncertainty in the overall stock market. Stock market's under pressure is just kind of causing a little bit of liquidation. Not to mention, we're just moving into those dog days of summer where the demand for beef just tends to wane a little bit.
And I was going to ask you that when we hit this point of the summer, we've already had those big purchases made by the stores to set up for the holidays like Memorial Day and then 4th of July. Do things calm down a little bit in terms of that, what we see with everything in terms of those products?
You tend to see it calm down a little bit. I mean, your next really big holiday is Labor Day weekend, and then you kind of build into obviously to the big football Saturdays and Sundays. But yeah, just a little bit of a lag. Like I said, we call it the dog days of summer. It's usually hot. No one really wants to stand over a grill when it's 90, 100 degrees, especially what you're going to see in the West, and that just kind of hurts the demand just a little bit.
And if you do, you need one of those towels to put over your shoulder and keep dabbing on your forehead if you are going to be by the grill in this weather. Jim, what about the hog side of the market?
If you look at the hog market, they are doing just the opposite. The August hogs in general have been grinding higher. So you could almost argue you're seeing a little bit of selling cattle, buying hogs. That's trending a little bit higher. That also might be a little bit, after the hard break we had in May to June, a little bit of technical correction. And then, the fact of the matter is we have seen a certain segment of our economy have to shift away from the higher beef cuts, moving to pork, which is much more attractive price for some people.
Jim, what's the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
You can reach me directly at 815-665-0461 or go to agmarket.net.
Head to agmarket.net. Check out all the great information and resources from the team. He is Jim McCormick. Thanks so much for the time today, Jim. Really appreciate it, and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks for having me on.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
The Packers and Stockyards Act has been in the headlines here recently based on some reshuffling, some restructuring of the rules in that act from USDA, and Senator Chuck Grassley spoke about that on his weekly ag conference call this morning. Here is Senator Grassley with more.
For over 100 years, that act has been a tool to protect livestock marketplace from anti-competitive practices. However, enforcement of this antitrust law has been lacking. I think the Packers and Stockyards Act is even stronger when it comes to agriculture than anything that the Department of Justice can do to the other antitrust laws. So we have now rules finalized under the previous administration, meaning to strengthen the enforcement by clarifying the law. I applauded those rules during the Biden administration. So here's the problem. Just now, the Trump administration released a proposed plan that will remove these rules designed to protect family farmers from the highly concentrated meat packing industry. At a time when the federal government is working to address anti-competitive issues, rolling back these rules is a step in the wrong direction. I think it might even be contrary action to what I think the Department of Justice is doing to get anti-competitive investigations in the same industry. So whether it's watering down or whether it's delaying or whether it's repealing Packers and Stockyards rules, this does not help family farmers or it doesn't help the consumers. Who does it help? Just the big meat packers. Right now, the government should focus on cutting red tape to support growth in the cattle herds, and it should help ensure marketplace works so cattlemen get a fair deal. The Packers and Stockyards Act is still the law of the land and should be vigorously enforced. I hope the Department of Agriculture decides to follow through with enforcement of these rules instead of scrapping them. I urge the USDA to stand with the family farmer as they work to lower the cost for families at the grocery stores. And I would expect the National Cattlemen's Association, the Iowa Cattlemen's Association, the Nebraska Cattlemen's Association, the Minnesota Cattlemen's Association, all these that were working with Senator Fisher and I within the last 2 to 3 years to get legislation passed, breaking up the anti-competitive practices of the big four meat packers, that they would join me in this effort to stop the Department of Agriculture from enforcing these rules. Remember, we used to hear from the National Cattlemen and the Iowa Cattlemen when farmers were losing $1,000 a head on the cattle they were marketing, and when they couldn't get their cattle to market if they were not contracting ahead of time. Now, of course, there's profit in cattle. So we aren't hearing so much from the Cattlemen's Association, but it would be a good thing for them to raise the same voice against what the U.S. Department of Agriculture is doing with these rule changes, the same way they did when Fisher and Grassley was trying to help them get their cattle to market when they were losing $1,000 a head.
Looks like another perfect day to get out there and enjoy the summer.
You hear that? Live music, laughing kids, the roar of the rides, and someone yelling, "Corn dogs!" That's Fair Spirit at the Iowa State Fair, August 13th through 23rd in Des Moines. 11 days of blue ribbon traditions, big summer nights, incredible food, and the kind of memories you talk about all year long. This is your Iowa State Fair. Plan your visit now at iowastatefair.org.
August 13th through the 23rd.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Well, and just like that, we're at the end of another episode of Iowa Ag Matters. It's been a busy day, and of course, we'll be keeping an eye on things. WASDE report coming up later this week as well. So looking forward to hearing what those numbers are going to look like as well. Thanks to Mark, thanks to Riley, and of course, thanks to you for listening. Of course, you can find full replays of these shows online under the podcast tab at iowaagnet.com. Don't forget to sign up for the free e-newsletter. It comes up Monday through Friday around 5 p.m. Thank you for listening. We'll be back here again tomorrow on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. This is Iowa Ag Matters.